Well, we welcome in the general manager of the Orioles AA Bowie Baysox affiliate, Brian Shallcross. And Brian, am I saying that right, by the way?
You got it, Steve. Perfect.
Former kicker at William and Mary, played for the legend Jimmy Laycock, who just retired. You got some football stories to tell. We're not here to do that today, but one day you and I are going over lunch, going to talk about Coach and share some stories. That was an amazing time, I'll bet.
It's a great time, and actually my college roommate is Sean McDermott, who's the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. So I had such a great experience, and I continue to have great experiences. I get to see Buffalo Bills games, and it's been it's certainly a great journey for me in the football side and the baseball side.
That is so awesome. And you've been with the Baysox since 2003. And fans who follow me know I love the minor leagues. I love coming to Bowie. The staff is so good. The ballpark is amazing. How can you not love hanging out with guys who have managed the team like Gary Kendall and Buck Britton over the years? I mean, just a fantastic place. And you're sticking around in Bowie. You've been there a while, so you must love the place too.
It's interesting. You mentioned some of our former managers. I've been here so long that one of our players is now a manager, and that's one of the cool things is seeing families come up to me and say, I came here as a kid. That tells me I'm getting old, Steve. But it's special that it means so much to the families that they are developing the next generation of Baysox and Orioles fans.
Absolutely. So, Brian, it's a tough time for everybody. Obviously, it's a tough time for the baseball industry. How is it going right now for the Bowie Baysox?
Well, it's difficult. You feel helpless at times because the way we help the community is getting out and bringing people to the ballpark, helping raise money for nonprofits, helping student programs in the local schools. We're not able to do that right now, so we're looking for other ways that we can help, and we're picking the brains of other minor league teams of how we can help the community, how we can help our hospitals, and simple things like a rain poncho that we've been donating in care packages. It's things you would never think would be of value to this community that all of a sudden people want rain ponchos for our medical staff. So we're just trying to do what we can to help while most of our staff is at home. Obviously, I'm here at the lonely Baysox Stadium right now.
Wow. So you've been to some of the local hospitals helping out, huh?
Well, so we, who knew that we had some supplies that would be in demand? And so it turns out rain ponchos, and the Orioles are doing the same thing, donating rain ponchos. So we're putting care packages together for our local community. Again, it at least makes us feel like we're doing something. Obviously, we're not making a major dent in any medical supplies, but we're just doing a part.
A lot of other neat stuff happening now. Fans can go to Baysox.com. That's your website. At Bowie Baysox on Twitter. You're doing a bracket now of the best. You're going to find the best player according to your voters in Baysox history. And sometimes a great Baysox player maybe not went on to a great major league career. Sometimes they do. And this is kind of a neat thing.
Right. And so that's the thing is how do you see these people? And some of the best Baysox players that you and I have seen over the years hasn't translated to great careers in the major league. A guy named Lou Montañez, who had one of the best years ever of a minor leaguer, didn't have a great major league career. And then there were some guys that you didn't think much of, a guy like Jason Worth, who played here and didn't think a whole heck of a lot of them. And my goodness, had a fantastic Major League Baseball career. So it's interesting to see what the fans are going to see, whether they truly look at the time at the Baysox or whether they take into account their times in the major leagues. But it's a fun thing to keep the fans interacting with our organization.
Exactly. And fans and readers can go to the website now, Baysox.com, or at Bowie Baysox on Twitter and check that out. I see the two of your great employees who I've known for a lot of years, your great broadcaster, Adam Pohl, and Adrian Roberson, who's so great on the public address announcer. We've heard Adrian at Camden Yards are doing videos too. I mean, it's no surprise to me the Baysox are staying relevant even when there aren't games.
Well, it's fun too. It's, to get those guys to interact with our former players, and you build a relationship with them. You don't want our players to spend a lot of time here, but sometimes they do, and it's great because you build a relationship and a rapport.
So, Brian, a lot of neat things are going on. And so one thing fans may not totally grasp that I do because I've been around the minors so long, Mike Elias has general manager in his title. You have general manager in your title, both very significant to your organizations. but that role is really different, isn't it? Majors to minors.
Yeah, no question. So the player personnel decisions comes through Mike Elias, not myself. And sometimes fans don't understand, come to me and say, why did you leave that pitcher in there? He was getting hit around. He gave up 6 runs, and they don't realize it's on a pitch count. And so these are things that happen in minor league baseball that people come to me and say, listen, what are you doing here? And so, my role on the player personnel is a little different and more behind the scenes, operational, and certainly overseeing the business and the operations of the stadium and the community relations and things like that. But Mike is solely focused on the player development. And from my perspective, I need to support what Mike and the Orioles have in their vision and make sure that we are giving the players the best opportunity to get to majors, because that's what it's all about. It's not about staying here. We don't want them to stay here. We want them to go out. We want them to go to AAA. We want them to go to major leagues. And so from our perspective, it's over the years, the many years I've been here, there have been some different general managers, but it's to take the vision of the general manager and see how we as a minor league affiliate can help them execute that vision.
Exactly. And then you deal with so many things, some things people may not even think about, everything from tickets, concessions, running your staff, holding meetings, making sure the ballpark's ready to play. And then you are a go-between with the Orioles and player transactions. So, I mean, when the games are played, and we hope they will be again real soon, I can imagine there are many days you're in the office from very early to very late.
Yeah, my wife's not used to seeing me. I'm coming home, I'm working 9 to 5. But yeah, so a normal week for me when the Baysox are in town is I'll be here 8:30 in the morning and get home at 11 o'clock at night after the game. Make sure that close the door, shut the lights off when we leave the building. So yeah, it's certainly a different. This is my first time since probably the 1990s that haven't been a part of an opening day at the ball yard. So certainly different, and I'm doing a lot of things that maybe I normally wouldn't. My lawn looks great. I've got vegetable garden going. I mean, I'm doing things when I'm at home that I certainly normally wouldn't do, including on weekends.
Yeah. And, Brian, these plans we read about to get Major League Baseball back, who knows if they'll get put into practice. I think selfishly, we all hope, that the world and the United States will be safe enough to do that one time. Is there much communication on the minor league level? How would that impact you guys, or is it way too soon to even speculate?
Well, it's never too soon because we got a plan. Because we understand that at some point in time, when the communities are open back up, we need to accommodate. We need to be an asset to the community. We've always felt that we're an asset to the community. So how do we do that in a safe manner? And so there is conversation already. And the beauty of minor league baseball is we don't compete with each other. So it's 160 teams and general managers communicating with each other and on best practices and certainly how our business is going to change and how our organization and the game of baseball is going to change once we open up. And so that's important to be forward looking. And so that's the process we're in right now. And listen, a lot of things are on the table. But it's important just to evaluate the different plans and different courses of action that our ballpark's going to take once we open up.
So many wonderful things about the minor leagues that I love, and I want to hear what there are about the minors that you love. I mean, one thing that's so cool for Oriole fans beyond just seeing a great ball game is you can see a player like Michael Givens or Manny Machado and Bowie one day and Baltimore the next. I mean, that happened. But Brian, what's special about minor league baseball and especially the Baysox for you?
Well, there's a lot of stories behind the scenes that just flood my memory. The one story that kind of came to me just as you're speaking is my first month here. You say how long I've been with the Baysox. My first month here was a cold winter day, and we're at a meeting, and our normal mascot, which is Louie, our normal mascot person wasn't able to make an appearance. And so it was my first month, and I said, you know what, I'll raise my hand, even though probably not out in my purview in marketing, but I'll raise my hand, I'll go on, I'll show everybody, listen, we're all in this together, we're all gonna take some sacrifices. So I got in this Louie suit, this mascot suit, dressed with my furry green and a t-shirt and big clown shoes, big 1.5 foot clown shoes, go to the appearance. Appearance was great, Steve. I had a wonderful time. you can be an altered ego. You know, you can't, it's not Brian in there, it's Louis. So I had a great time. I get back in the van. I take off the top of my suit. We start back to the stadium. We ran out of gas, okay?
Oh.
Freezing cold. I'm with an intern. So we're on the side of the highway, and I turned to her. I said, can you call back to the office, have the guys bring out some gas? And she says, I don't have a cell phone. Well, I certainly didn't have a cell phone. I was in green tights, furry tights, and clown shoes. So there was a hotel about a half a mile away, and in between the hotel and our van was a chain link fence. So I walk up to the chain link fence. I take off my clown shoes, throw them over the fence. I've climbed chain link fence in my youth. Don't tell anybody. But I threw the clown shoes over. Well, I didn't think scaling a chain link fence in socks is painful, very painful. So I gave up. I ended up walking in my socks another mile around the fence in my green tights and then I got the clown shoes again, and I flip-flopped to the hotel, and I walk in, and I just saw this blank stare of somebody at the front desk, and I said, what did I say? I said, I know, don't ask, can I use your phone? And so it's the stories like that for me that just make this special. I mean, where else would you find that? But it's also the interaction with the fans, and there's some sad times and good times. You share with families some of the really good times. And you know, we lost a couple of season ticket holders in this off season. That's terrible, and I'm going to miss sitting down with them and having to talk about baseball. But as I also mentioned, it's the generations of fans. There's one kid that is a high school senior now, highly sought after baseball athlete who chased foul balls here as a 6-7-year-old, and now he's going to Vanderbilt to play baseball. And so that makes you feel like you had a small part in families' lives, and that's what really brings smiles to my face.
That's awesome. And, you know, for many years, Gary Kendall was the manager there, and now AAA, and was there when you guys won it in 2015. And I mean, what was it like working with Gary? I mean, I've always said the Orioles can't have a better employee. This guy bleeds orange and black. He hates to lose. He loves to promote players that can win in Baltimore. I mean, this guy is just Oriole through and through.
What a special experience 2015 was. And it's going to be special no matter what. But to see Gary, and he spent a lot of years here, and to see him and to see how he developed these players, and Steve, sometimes you look at a roster, you say, oh, these guys are going to be good. And looking in the roster next year is like, oh, wow, we got a lot of holes to fill. I'll never forget with Gary that year, we got off to a slow start. I don't know if you remember that. We got off to a slow start. And when I sensed that Gary's down in the dumps, I would meet him in right field on his way to the clubhouse, probably close to if you were walking down. And I said, Gary, it'll come. It'll come. Because on paper, these guys were good, and we just couldn't hit. We were pitching. I said, the hitting will come. The warm weather will come. The hitting will come. And he just said, I hope you're right, Brian. And you could see he was dejected at that point in time. But to see that team gel together and come together as a team, you know, Gary puts together some pretty good, solid teams.
Oh, yeah.
In that phase of the Orioles baseball, there wasn't a whole lot of priority on the AA, AAA. It was a lot of older, a lot more free agent signings as opposed to building from below. And he was able to really get those guys to gel together, and that was special. And he did it not just 1 year, he did several years.
What a special guy. Brian, and wrapping this up, what's it been like for you with the new regime? Mike Elias, Kent Qualls is a holdover, of course, who's a great guy working with the minor league staffs. I mean, what's it been like working with the new group?
You know, what I enjoy about it is the honesty and the vision, okay? They're going to tell you what they're going to do. They're going to tell you how they're going to implement it. And that's what I've enjoyed so far working with Mike. And certainly I've worked with Kent along the way. But this is the vision. And that vision, this is an important part of that vision. And that's really what means a lot to us, is that we are the relevant part of building the Orioles back up. And we saw it last year. We saw some of the fruits of their labor. You're not seeing in Baltimore right now, but it's here. It's ready. It's getting there. And so that's the exciting thing from our perspective is the administration right now really values AA and AAA and really values the minor league system and how that's going to help the major leagues in the short term. So that's, from my perspective, I'd much rather see the youth and the draft picks as opposed to signing free agents and bringing them in that might not have the buy-in. These guys have the buy-in. They're all in. They believe in the system. We believe in the system. We've seen the system work. I'm standing here in the press box that has an empty chair for you, but we've got all the technology loaded up and ready to go. And so we really believe that, or we're certainly encouraged that we are a part of the solution.
I cannot wait to get back to Prince George's Stadium with fans in the stands, see a game, see you, see Phil, see Adam, see Adrian, see your entire press box crew. And I encourage fans, if you've never been to Bowie, you got to get out there. I mean, these people love baseball. They love the Orioles, and can't wait to do it, Brian.
Like I said, the chair is ready for you, Steve, hopefully sooner or later.
Hey, Brian, thanks so much for joining me today. Really appreciate it.
That was a great chat. Thank you, Steve.